Jai Sri Krishna. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 7, the son of Droṇa punished. Here in the verse 45, Sri Sutta Goswami addressing to Sonokya Rishi that he, Dronacharya, is certainly still existing, being represented by his son. His wife Krif did not undergo a sati with him because she had a son. So here it is mentioned. So esa bhagavan trinaha pracharupena vartate tasyatmana radham prante aste navagya nanbhagad krupi. So here it is mentioned the wife of Drona Krupi is the sister of Krupacharya, a devoted wife who is, according to the revealed scripture, the better half of her husband. He is justified in the embarrassing voluntarily death along with her husband if she is without issue. But in the case of a wife of Dronacharya, she did not undergo such a trial because she had her son, the representative of her husband. A widow is a widow only in the name if there is a son of her husband existing. So in either case, Oshothama was the representative of Dronacharya, or therefore killing Oshothama would be like killing Dronacharya. That was the argument of Draupadi against the killing of Oshothama. So here in the next verse it was mentioned that, oh fortunate one who knows the principle of a religion. It was telling by it was said by uh, Draupadi. It is not good for you to cause grief to glorious family member who are always respectable and worshipful. So here it is mentioned tad dharma jnana महाभाग भवद्विग्योरवकुलं भ्रुजिनं नाह्यति प्राप्तु पूज्यं पूज्यं Bhandayam Abhikshanaha. So here it is mentioned. The purport is a slight insult for a respectable family is sufficient to invoke grief. Therefore, a cultured man should always be careful in dealing with worshipful family members. So here in the next verse it was mentioned that, my lord, do not make the wife of Dronacharya cry like me. I am aggrieved, aggrieved for the death of my sons. She did not, she need not cry constantly like me. So here, uh, Draupadi telling to Arjuna that ma o rodhitasya janani gantimi pratidevata गौतमी प्रतिदेवता यथाहम मृतवाश्चोत्तो rodhim also mukhe mukha. So here it is mentioned here the purport is sympathetically sympathetic good lady as she was. Srimati Tripati did not want to put a wife of Dronacharya in the same position of childlessness, both from the point of a motherly feeling and from the respectable position held by the wife of Dronacharya. So here in the next verse it was mentioned that if the kingly administrative order being unrestricted in sense control offends the Brahmana order and enraged them, then the fire of that rage burns up the whole body of the loyal family and brings griefs upon them all. So here it is mentioned. एहि कवितं ब्रह्मकूलम् अराजयार्यम् अजितमभिः तत्कूलं प्रदहस्तासु सानुबन्धं Suchapitam. So here it is mentioned here the purpose is the Brahmana order of society or the spiritual advanced caste or community and the member of such a highly elevated families we are always held in great esteem by the other. Subordinate castes, namely the administrative kingly order, the mercantile order and the lawyer and the laborers. So here it is mentioned in the verse 49 by Sutta Goswami. Sutta Goswami said, O Brahmanas, in the place of Nimisaranya, King Yudhishthira, Yudhishthira fully supported the statement of the queen, Srimati Draupadi, which we are in accordance with the principle of religion and we are justified, glorious, full of mercy and equity, and without duplicity. So here it is mentioned, Sutta Uvacha, Dharma, Dharma Jnanam Naya Sakaranyam Nirvaya Likam Sanmam Mahata Raja Dharma Suta Rajya Pratyanandantavacha Vidivijaha. So here it is mentioned here the purpose is Maharaja Yudhishthira, who was the son of Dharmaraj or Yamraj, fully supported the word of a king queen Draupadi in asking Arjuna to release Ashwatthama. One should not tolerate the humiliation of the member of a great family. Arjuna and his family were indebted to the family of Dronacharya because Arjuna learning the military science from him. If ingratitude were shown to such a benevolent family, it would not be all justified from the moral standpoint. The wife of Dronacharya, who was the half body of a great soul, must be treated with compassion, and she should not be put in into grief because of her son's death. That is the compassion. Such statement by Draupadi were without duplicity because action should be taken with full knowledge. The feeling of equity was there because Draupadi spoke out of her personal experience. A barren woman cannot understand the grief of a mother. Draupadi was herself a mother, and therefore her calculation of her depth of her griefs was quite to the point, and it was glorious because she wanted to show proper respect to a great family like Dronacharya. So here it is mentioned in verse 50 that Nakula and Sahadeva, the younger brother of the kings, and also Satyaki, Arjuna, the personality of God head Lord Sri Krishna, the son of Devaki, and the ladies and other all unanimously agree with the king. So in the next in this verse it is mentioned that Nakula Sahadevascha Ujudhana Dhananjaya Bhagavana Devakiputra Ye Chanya Yescha Yositaha, means all are agree with the statement of Queen Draupadi that uh, they should release Ashwatthama because of uh, he creepy. So here in the next verse it was mentioned that Bhima, however, angrily disagreed with them. But Maharaj Bhima angrily disagreed with them and recommended killing this culprit who had murdered sleeping children for no purpose and for neither his nor his master interest. So here it is mentioned, तत्र हमासीतो भीमास तस्य श्रेणो बद्धः स्मृतः न भर्तुर्नामज्ञचन्ते यो हन सुप्तस्य शिशून् व्यर्थः वृथा. So in this verse it is clearly mentioned that everyone agree with the statement of Queen Draupadi, but Bhimasena angrily disagree with them because Yasodhama killed the children, murdered sleeping children for no purpose, neither his nor his master interest. So here in the next verse it was mentioned that Chaturubhuja, the forearm one, and the personality of a godhead. After hearing the word of Bhima, Draupadi, and others, saw the face of his dear friend Arjuna and began to speak as if smiling. So here in the next verse, it was it is mentioned that Nimasya Bhima Gathitam Draupadyasya cha Chaturubhujaha Alokya Bhatanam Sankhyayor Idam Aha Hasan Eva. Now, in the purport is the Lord Sri Krishna had arms, and why he is designated as armed is explained by Sridhara Swami. Both Bhima and Draupadi held opposite view about killing Aswatthama. Bhima wanted him to be immediately killed, whereas Draupadi wanted to save him. We can imagine Bhima ready to kill while Draupadi is obstructing him. And in order to prevent both of them, Lord discovered another two arms. Originally, the primeval Lord Sri Krishna display only two arms, but in his Narayana features, he exhibits four. In his Narayana features, he resides with his devotee in the Vaikuntha planets, while in his original Krishna picture, he resides in the Krishna Loka planet far, far above the Vaikuntha, away in the spiritual sky. Therefore, if Krishna is called as Chaturabhuja Jagannath, there is no contradiction. If if need be, he can display hundred of arms, as he exhibited in his Vishwarupa showing to Arjuna. Therefore, one who can display hundred and thousands of arms can also manifest forearm whenever needed. When Arjuna was praised about want to do with Aswathama, Lord Sri Krishna, as a very dear friend of Arjuna, voluntarily took up the matter just to make a solution, and he was smiling also. Now, in the next verse 53 and 54, it was mentioned that Sri Bhagavan Vacho, means the supreme personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna said, a friend of a Brahmana is not to be killed. After listening and listening the view of Draupadi and a other member of in that sabha, Lord Sri Krishna said, a friend of a Brahmana or a Brahmana Bandhu is not to be killed, but if he is an aggressor, he must be killed. So there is 2 point that if he is feeling guilty, then he not to be killed. But if he is the aggressor, he has um, the aggressive nature, then he must be killed. All these ruling are in the scripture, and you should act accordingly. You have to fulfill your promise to your wife, and you must also act to satisfaction of Bhimasan and me. It is telling to Lord Sri Krishna telling to Arjuna. Now here it is mentioned. Sri Bhagavan Vacho Brahmana Bandhu na hanteya atyasi bhandara hanaha. मय्या भयम अनस्तं प्राप्य अनुसनमं कुरु प्रतिश्रुतं सत्यं यत् तदा सत्यव्यत प्रियं प्रियं च भीमसेनस्य पञ्चाल्य महाल्येवाश्च. So here the purport is Arjuna was pre-placed because Ashwatthama was to be killed as well as spared according into the different scriptures cited by different persons. As a Brahmana Bandhu or a worthy son of a Brahmana, Ashwatthama was not to be killed, but he was at the same time an aggressor also. And according to the rulings of Manu, an aggressor, even though he be a Brahmana, and what to speak of a unworthy son of a Brahmana is to be killed. Dronacharya was certainly a Brahmana in the true sense of the term, but because he stood in the battlefield, he was killed. But although Osutoma was an aggressor, he stood without any fighting weapons. The ruling is that an aggressor, when he is without weapons or chariot, cannot be killed. All these were certainly perplexed teach. Beside that, Arjuna had to keep the promise he had made before to Draupadi, just to pacify her, and he also had to satisfy both Bhima and Krishna, who advised killing him. The dilemma was present before Arjuna, and the solution was awarded by Lord Sri Krishna in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So here in the next verse, it was mentioned that Suta Goswami said, just then Arjuna could understand the motive of Lord by his equivocal orders, and thus with the sword he served both hair and jewelry from the head of Ashwadhama. So here it was mentioned that Sutovacha Arjuna saha sangyaya हरेण हरतम् अथासीन मणिं जहार मुरुदायनम् द्विजस्य समूर्धजामम्. So here the purport is contradictory. Order of different person are impossible to carry it out. Therefore, a compromise was selected by Arjuna by his sharp intelligence, and he separated the jewelry from the head of Ashwadhama. This was a good of a cutting of his head, and yet his life was saved for a all practical purpose. Or here Ashwadhama is indicated as twice one. Certainly, he was twice one, but he fell down from his position and therefore he was properly punished. So here in the next verse it is mentioned that he means Haswatthama had already lost his bodily luster due to infanticide, and now moreover having lost the jewelry from his head, he lost even more strength. Thus he was unbounded and driven out of a camp. So here it is mentioned Vimukcha rasanya bandham balahya hatya hata prabham tejosa monina hinam sivira nirayapayat. So here the purport is thus being insulted. The humiliated Aswathama was simultaneously killed and not killed by the intelligence of Krishna and Arjuna. So here in the next verse it was mentioned that cutting the hair from his head, depriving him of his wealth, and driving him from his residence are the prescribed punishment for the relative of a Brahmana. There is no injunction for killing the body. So here it is mentioned, Bhapanam Dravina Dhanam Tat Satyana Niryopanam Tatha ऐसा ही ब्रह्म ऐसा ही ब्रह्म बंधूनाम बोधो न न्योस्ति दैहिकाः. So here the purport is that um, cutting the hair from the head, driving him into the of his wealth, and driving him from his residence are the prescribed punishment for the relative of a Brahmana. If you are giving the punishment to the Brahmana in this way, then generally he already killed by insult. So there is no injunction of killing the body. What it is mentioned in this verse, that therefore, and this in this way, Aswathama was punished for the killing of sleeping five children of Draupadi, not by bodily but by intelligence of Lord Sri Krishna and Lord Arjuna. Thereafter, the son of Pandu and Draupadi, overwhelmed with grave, grief, performed the proper ritual for the dead bodies of their relatives. So here it is mentioned, Putraha Soko Turaha Sarve Pandavaha Sa Krishnaya Swabhamnam Mrutaya Yadkaratyam Chakyur Nirihanandikam. Thus, the end of Bhaktivedanta Pursuit of first chapter, second chapter the, of the Srimad Bhagavatam entitled The Son of Drona, Duryat, Dronacharya punished. Jai Jagannath, Jai Sri Krishna.